This is our secret weapon. Words spoken by the three immigrant nurses from different socioeconomic backgrounds after more than 25 years working in close proximity to one another. They revealed that they brought the same weapon to their nursing practice each day. Book 3 of the Healing Fountain channel at Pastor Ralph Boyce is a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a narrative woven with threads of profound inner strength and unwavering conviction, as demonstrated by these women. Let us also, at this time, give a shout-out to all nurses and caregivers who are on guard for us in times when we are most vulnerable. Friends, colleagues, fellow dreamers, today, as this episode of The Healing Fountain is being written, we stand on the precipice of history. The very fabric of our understanding is being woven anew as astronauts Jeremy Hansen, Victor Glover, Reed Weissman, and Christina Koch embark on an extraordinary journey. Their vessel, the mighty Artemis II, pierces the heavens on a monumental blast-off to the moon. This isn't just a launch. It's a testament to human courage, innovation, and our unyielding quest for the stars. It's a breathtaking display of what humanity can achieve when we reach for the impossible. But as we gaze upon this incredible feat of engineering and human endeavor, let us also consider another profound journey, one that transcends the physical. The Apostle Paul, in 2 Corinthians 5, offers us a beacon of hope, an insight into a different kind of destination. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. This verse reminds us that while our earthly ambitions take us to the moon and beyond, there is an eternal promise, a spiritual home awaiting us. It's a contrast between the temporary triumphs of our hands and the everlasting hope of a divine promise. Both journeys, in their own way, speak to the deepest parts of our being, our drive to explore and our longing for something more. Take a moment to comment on where in the world you are listening. Subscribe to be notified when other stories are released. Now, back to our story. In this episode of The Healing Fountain, titled The Bodyguards, it chronicles the journey of confronting life's most daunting challenges and navigating the labyrinth of one's deepest fears. At its heart, a trio of courageous women whose warmth and resolve shone brightly, refusing to yield to life's relentless pressure, emerging not just intact, but profoundly empowered. Friends, it took these three women more than 25 years to realize that their secret weapon was the same. Your challenge today is to see if you can recognize it. Now, let us continue. In the tapestry of life, what cosmic threads could intertwine the destinies of three women, each born in the same distant country, yet separated by miles, by towns? Their origins were as varied as the landscape they inhabited, shaped by parents from different socioeconomic strata and diverse religious beliefs. Yet, fate, with its subtle hand, guided them across oceans to the same adopted land, the same province, the same bustling city. There, they found themselves bound by a sheer calling, working within the same demanding discipline, their minds honed by similar educational journeys. Their paths are initially divergent, but they converge in the crucible of shared struggles. Each woman is a pillar of strength who not only forges her own way, but also bears the weight of her extended family, nurturing their parents, supporting her siblings, continuing their education and her upbringing. This narrative, however, does not dwell on the profound sacrifices they made, the quiet acts of devotion that shaped their early lives. Instead, It seeks to illuminate the inner fortitude with which they navigated life's relentless currents, the mental resilience that became their compass. This is a story of their eventual coming together in their later years. This remarkable convergence saw them working for the same organization, and how united they continue to be in confronting the challenges that life presents. Now, let us delve deeper into the enigmatic past of these three formidable women, known only as the Bodyguards, whose very presence whispers tales of unwavering loyalty and untold battles. Anya, the first of the Bodyguards, lived in a small, bustling town in the heart of her home country with a family of modest means. Her parents, devoted Adventists, instilled in her a strong sense of duty and community from a young age. Her father was a skilled artisan, but his income was often inconsistent, leading to periods of financial hardship. Anya was the eldest of 5 children, and from an early age she understood the weight of responsibility resting on her shoulders. Anya's main challenge was the constant pressure to support her family's survival and upliftment. She excelled in her studies, often staying up late by the dim glow of a kerosene lamp, knowing her education was her only escape. She faced the emotional burden of leaving her family behind, and she thought about migrating. The thought left her grappling with guilt and homesickness. However, she was determined to try to establish herself in a new country. This emotional strain took a toll on her body. She began noticing signs of hypertension, high blood pressure, which many refer to as the silent killer. Since her field of study was nursing, she knew that high blood pressure impacts millions of people of all ages and raises the risk of heart disease and stroke. She also knew that several factors contribute to this condition, such as obesity, excessive alcohol intake, smoking, and a family history of related issues. Since most of these contributing factors were not her issue, she linked the high blood pressure to her family's stress issues. The hypertension caused her to experience blurred vision. Anya knew from her training that high blood pressure can damage the vessels supplying blood to the retina, leading to blurred vision. The cultural shift was also profound, and she often felt isolated as she navigated a new social landscape while upholding her traditional values. Anya's triumph, on the other hand, lies in her unwavering determination. She secured scholarships to pursue her education. Eventually, she earned a degree in her chosen discipline, nursing. Despite the initial loneliness, she built a new life, sending remittances home to support her family and ensuring her younger siblings received better educational opportunities. Despite the high personal stress, her ability to adapt, learn new customs while holding on to her heritage, and carve out a successful career against significant odds stands as a testament to her resilience. She found strength in her faith and in the knowledge that her sacrifices were paving the way for a brighter future for her loved ones. Maria, the second bodyguard, grew up in a vibrant coastal city, her family belonging to the middle class. Her parents, devout Catholics, were well educated and emphasized the importance of intellectual curiosity and social justice. Her father was a teacher and her mother a housewife, providing a stable, if not affluent, upbringing. Maria was an only child for many years before a younger sibling arrived, and she was encouraged to pursue her passion and speak her mind. Although Maria's socioeconomic background was a bit different from Anya's, they were both deeply grounded in a religious faith upbringing. Maria's struggles were less about financial hardship and more about internal conflicts over identity and purpose. She felt the weight of her parents' expectations to achieve greatness, which often manifested as self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a psychological experience of feeling like a phony or fraud, despite having evidence of success, competence, or high achievement. Individuals with this syndrome often attribute their accomplishments to luck rather than skill, suffering from chronic self-doubt and a fear of being exposed as incompetent. Up to 70 to 80% of people who experience this are often among high achievers. Upon Maria's migration, she grappled with the loss of her close-knit community and the subtle prejudices she encountered as an immigrant, despite her educational achievements. She struggled to reconcile her progressive ideals with the more conservative aspect of her upbringing, often feeling caught between two worlds. This led to improper diet control, adding to the already self-imposed stress. Maria also started to observe signs and symptoms of hypertension. It started with terrible headaches and difficulty breathing. Maria found that at times she would often get these severe headaches along with difficulty breathing. She researched it and found that they could be a sign of a rare form of high blood pressure called malignant hypertension. She knew that malignant hypertension was an exceedingly high blood pressure that causes abnormally elevated intracranial pressure. She understood that to be the pressure within the cranium that surrounds the brain. This is how Maria describes the symptoms. She states that as the blood pressure increases to dangerous levels, pain builds up in the head, often causing migraines or severe headaches. She said that when that happens, the situation becomes a medical emergency and should be treated promptly. Along with headaches, she had some difficulty breathing. She knew this could be an indicator of high blood pressure, which thickens and stiffens the heart wall, leading to shortness of breath. Sometimes, easy tasks would leave her short of breath, prompting her to seek immediate medical care. Her desire to make a significant impact in her field of nursing was constantly channeled into challenges by systemic barriers that would not recognize her foreign-trained credentials, resulting in repeated demands to prove herself. Maria's triumph is her relentless pursuit of excellence and her commitment to social change. She not only excelled academically, but also became a vocal advocate for her marginalized communities within her professional sphere. She overcame her self-doubt by focusing on her impact, finding her voice in a new country, and building a reputation as a compassionate and highly skilled professional. Her ability to bridge cultural divides and to inspire others through her work and advocacy showcases her profound strength and leadership. Fatima, the third bodyguard, came from a prosperous, influential family in a large metropolitan area. Her parents, prominent figures in the Christian community, provided her with every advantage, including access to the best education and extensive travel opportunities. She was accustomed to a life of comfort and privilege, surrounded by a large extended family that offered both support and, at times, suffocating expectations. Fatima's struggle was unique, stemming from the pressure to maintain her family's esteemed reputation and to conform to society's expectations for women of her background. She yearned for independence and to forge her own path, clashing with traditional norms. Her migration was less about necessity and more about a desire for autonomy and to prove her worth beyond the family's name. In her new country, she faced the challenge of shattering the perception of privilege and proving her capabilities on her own merit. She also struggled with the emotional distance that grew between her and her family as she embraced a more independent lifestyle, often feeling misunderstood and lonely despite her outward success. The emotional distance from her family put tremendous stress on her, causing her to feel drowsy at times, along with queasiness or nausea. Even though she understood medically that when blood pressure increases, the heart pumps out less blood, which means less blood reaches the organs, and as a result, extra pressure is placed on the heart. This was hard for her to process. She knew that a lack of oxygenated blood to the brain causes digestive uneasiness and nausea. She understood that nausea alone does not suggest hypertension. However, nausea associated with blurred vision and severe headaches may be a sign of malignant hypertension. There was also an issue with sleepiness or drowsiness. This happens when the inner organs weaken or become impaired due to high blood pressure, which causes the heart to pump out less blood. Insufficient blood flow results in fatigue and sleepiness. We must all remember that mental or physical exhaustion without a clear cause is a sign to check blood pressure. Fatima's triumph lies in her courage to defy expectations and forge an authentic identity. She deliberately chose a path that required her to stand on her own 2 feet, providing her with intellectual prowess and professional competence without relying on her family's influence. She navigated the complexities of cultural expectation, finding a balance between honoring her heritage and embracing her individuality. Her success in her nursing discipline, achieved through sheer hard work and talent, and her ability to build meaningful relationships independent of her family status, demonstrated her profound inner strength and self-discovery. She learned to define success on her own terms, finding fulfillment in her contributions and in her personal growth. Through a series of serendipitous events, Anya, Maria, and Fatima find themselves not only in the same adopted country, province, and city, but also working within the same professional discipline and, remarkably, for the same organization. Their paths, once miles apart, now intersect daily, with Anya working in the emergency department, Maria in the intensive care unit, and Fatima in the pediatric ward, all at St. Jude's Hospital. The siren's wail was a familiar prelude to Anya's shifts in the bustling emergency department of St. Jude's Hospital. Anya had navigated a labyrinth of immigration processes and cultural adjustments to arrive in this sprawling Canadian city. Her hands, once adept at traditional healing remedies, now moved with precision as she triaged a steady stream of patients. Today, a young boy with a fractured arm cried softly, his mother hovering anxiously. Anya, with her calm demeanor and reassuring smile, quickly assessed the situation, her voice a soothing balm as she explained the next steps. The organized chaos of the emergency department, a stark contrast to the serene landscapes of her youth, had become her second home. Here, amidst the urgent beeps of monitors and the hurried footsteps of colleagues, Anya found purpose, her innate compassion, a guiding force in every interaction. She often reflected on the improbable journey that led her from a remote mountain community to the heart of a metropolitan hospital, a journey she knew was shared with others like her. Up on the 3rd floor, in the hushed, intense environment of the intensive care unit, Maria meticulously adjusted the ventilator settings for a patient in critical condition. The rhythmic hiss and whoosh of the machine were constant companions in her demanding role. Maria, a seasoned nurse, had brought with her a wealth of experience and an unwavering dedication to patient advocacy. The transition to a new healthcare system had presented its challenges, but her resilience and sharp clinical acumen quickly made her an invaluable asset to St. Jude's. In the ICU, every detail mattered, every fluctuation in vital signs a potential turning point. Maria's focus was absolute. Her movements were deliberate and precise. She communicated with the patient's family with gentle empathy, translating complex medical jargon into understandable terms, a skill honed by years of caring for those at their most vulnerable. She often thought of the countless miles separating her from her homeland, yet felt a profound connection to this new place, a sense of belonging forged in the shared mission of healing. Fatima possessed a natural warmth and an infectious optimism that made her a favorite among her young patients. Laughter, albeit sometimes mixed with tears, echoed through the brightly colored corridors of the pediatric ward, Fatima's domain. Her journey to St. Jude's was marked by courage and determination, as she left behind a well-established career to embrace new opportunities. In pediatrics, Fatima's days were a delicate balance of administering medication, comforting frightened children, and engaging in playful distractions. Today, she was reading a storybook to a little girl recovering from an appendectomy, her animated voice bringing smiles to the child's face. Fatima understood that healing extended beyond physical ailments. It encompassed emotional well-being and a sense of security. She often found herself marveling at the twists of fate that had brought her to this specific hospital, in this city, surrounded by colleagues who, like her, had traversed continents to build new lives and careers. The climax occurred when they began to interact more closely, perhaps through a shared project or a casual conversation. They slowly uncover the astonishing parallels in their lives, their country of origin, their migration experiences, their professional fields, and most significantly, the similar mental fortitude and coping mechanisms they developed to navigate their struggles. This profound realization acts as the turning point, transforming their professional acquaintance into a deep, almost fated connection. It's a moment of recognition, of finding kindred spirits who truly understand the unspoken burdens and triumphs of their unique journeys. Though their departments were worlds apart, the high-stakes urgency of the ED, the meticulous vigilance of the ICU, and the tender care of pediatrics, Anya, Maria, and Fatima were bound by an invisible thread. They often crossed paths in the staff cafeteria during hospital-wide training sessions or in the quiet moments before shift changes. A nod, a shared smile, a brief exchange about a challenging case, or a funny patient anecdote, these small interactions underscored their remarkable shared journey. Each woman, having left behind a familiar world, had found a new home and a renewed purpose within the walls of St. Jude's. Their individual stories, rich with diverse backgrounds and experiences, converged here, creating a vibrant tapestry of dedication and care that enriched not only the hospital, but also the lives of the countless patients they served. They were a testament to the serendipitous paths that lead individuals to their true calling, even across continents and cultures, to a shared destination of healing and hope. Following their revelation, the women intentionally cultivate their burgeoning friendship. They begin to share their individual stories in greater depth, finding immense solace and understanding in each other's experiences. They delve into the sacrifices made, the cultural dilemmas faced, and the mental resilience required to navigate their lives, creating a safe space for vulnerability and shared wisdom. They often had to collaborate on cases. One such case was that of little Leo. The blare of an ambulance siren cut through the late afternoon's quiet of St. Jude's emergency department, signaling the arrival of a critical patient. Anya, ever vigilant, moved swiftly towards the bay. A young boy, no older than 5, was being wheeled in, his small body racked with seizures, his breathing shallow and labored. His distraught parents explained through tears that Leo had been fine that morning, but had rapidly deteriorated after developing a high fever. Anya's training kicked in instantly. While the ED physician initiated immediate stabilization protocols, Anya meticulously gathered crucial information: Leo's medical history, recent travel, and any potential exposures. Her calm presence was comforting to the terrified parents, even as her mind raced to piece the puzzle together. The initial assessment pointed towards a severe neurological infection, requiring urgent, specialized care. Once stabilized, Leo needed to be transferred to the intensive care unit for continuous monitoring and advanced life support. Maria received the handover from Anya with her characteristic focus. Leo's condition was precarious. In the sterile, high-tech environment of the ICU, Maria became Leo's unwavering guardian. She meticulously managed his ventilator, titrated medications to control his seizures, and monitored every subtle change in his neurological status. The ICU was a place where minutes could mean the difference between recovery and irreversible damage. Maria's deep understanding of critical care, honed over years in demanding environments, allowed her to anticipate potential complications and react with swift precision. She worked closely with the intensivists, adjusting treatment plans based on continuous data. However, as days turned into a week, Leo's seizures became more refractory, and his overall condition remained critically unstable. The team realized they needed a broader perspective, especially given the unusual presentation and the potential for long-term developmental impact. Maria, recalling a conversation with Fatima about complex pediatric cases, suggested consulting with the pediatric neurology team, which often worked closely with the pediatric ward. Fatima received the call from Maria, a rare but significant cross-departmental consultation. While her primary focus was on the general well-being and recovery of children, her experience with various pediatric conditions and her strong relationships with pediatric specialists were invaluable. Fatima reviewed Leo's case with Maria, paying close attention to the developmental milestones and family history Anya had initially documented. She then facilitated a consultation with Dr. Alastair Finch, a renowned pediatric neurologist affiliated with St. Jude's, who often rounded on the pediatric ward. Dr. Finch, guided by Fatima's clear summary and Maria's detailed clinical observations, ordered a series of specialized tests. Fatima also spent time with Leo's parents, providing emotional support and explaining the complex medical jargon in a way that was both empathetic and understandable, drawing on her extensive experience with anxious families in the pediatric setting. Her ability to connect with families and advocate for the child's holistic needs was crucial. The collaboration proved pivotal. Dr. Finch, with input from Maria's continuous ICU data and Fatima's insights into pediatric care, diagnosed Leo with a rare autoimmune encephalitis. This diagnosis, initially missed due to its atypical presentation, allowed for a targeted treatment plan. Anya, though no longer directly involved in Leo's daily care, followed his progress keenly, often checking in with Maria and Fatima. She had laid the groundwork with her thorough initial assessment, which proved vital in the diagnostic process. Maria continued her vigilant care in the ICU, implementing the new treatment regimen, and slowly, miraculously, Leo's condition began to improve. His seizures lessened, and he showed signs of neurological recovery. Once stable enough, he was transferred to the pediatric ward for rehabilitation and long-term recovery, where Fatima and her team provided specialized developmental support and continued to work with his family. The seamless transition and coordinated effort between Anya's initial critical assessment, Maria's intensive care management, and Fatima's pediatrics and specialist liaison ultimately saved Leo's life, ensuring the best possible outcome for his future. Their shared destination at St. Jude's had converged not just in proximity, but in a powerful, life-saving collaboration. Their bond deepened as they actively support one another through the challenges of their day-to-day work. This involved mentoring one another through career transitions and hospital equipment and system upgrades. They also offer unwavering emotional support to each other during family crises back home. In their adopted country, they collaborate on significant projects within their shared organization. They became an invaluable support system to each other. These three nurses, who often discuss their medical successes on their various units and wards, found out that each of them, deeply rooted in faith, would pray over each case or challenge. That was the moment they realized they had a secret weapon. In the demanding, often challenging world of healthcare, these three nurses continually sought innovative approaches to patient care and personal resilience. These three remarkable nurses are each a testament to the profound impact of integrating faith and spirituality into their daily medical practice, unbeknownst to anyone. While discussing their medical successes regarding their various units and wards, a deeper, more personal revelation emerged from their shared experiences. These dedicated professionals discovered a common thread binding their individual triumphs, a profound personal faith. Each nurse, deeply rooted in faith, consistently prayed over every challenge they encountered. This practice, initially a private devotion, soon became recognized among them as a shared, powerful resource. They collectively concluded that their unparalleled effectiveness stemmed from what they affectionately termed their secret weapon. These three affectionately became known as the Bodyguards, for their presence acts as a protective shield. This word signifies more than just a personal belief. It represents a holistic approach to healing that acknowledges the interconnectedness of physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Their work reminds us that true healing is not merely the absence of disease, but the restoration of wholeness. As they continue to minister to the bodies and souls of their patients, Anya, Maria, and Fatima stand as a testament to the power of healing from the inside out, proving that even the most isolated struggles can be woven into a tapestry of global hope and renewal. Through their collective efforts, they discover a renewed sense of purpose, demonstrating that their arduous individual journeys were not in vain. Instead, it culminated in a powerful testament to human connection and the enduring spirit. Their story has become an inspiration, a beacon of hope for others navigating similar paths. A foundational principle is the transformation of the inner being, often referred to as metanoia, or a fundamental change of mind and heart. Metanoia refers to a fundamental transformation of mind, heart, and outlook. It is often translated as repentance. In a theological sense, it signifies a deep reorientation of one's life, rather than just remorse, implying a permanent change of thinking, worldview, and action. This concept posits that true healing commences not with external interventions, but with an internal shift in perspective. Instead of solely focusing on symptoms, the nurses embrace a holistic view that addresses the root of suffering, which they identify as spiritual and emotional distress. This internal transformation is believed to radiate outward, influencing physical health and broader societal well-being. Another crucial principle is the understanding of spiritual authority and activation. Anya, Maria, and Fatima, lovingly referred to as the Bodyguards, perceive themselves not merely as medical practitioners, but as spiritual conduits. This involved recognizing an inherent spiritual authority that allowed them to facilitate healing beyond the purely physical. Their participation in the prophetic online ministry has likely activated this sense of purpose, empowering them to integrate spiritual insights into their professional roles. This perspective aligns with the idea of an apostolic or prophetic anointing with a divine mandate to impact their environment. The principle of the Word as a healing agent highlights the belief in the transformative power of sacred texts or divinely inspired messages. For these nurses, Scripture or prophetic words are not just religious doctrines, but potent tools capable of addressing emotional and spiritual wounds that conventional medicine cannot reach. This principle suggests that faith-filled declarations and spiritual guidance can play a direct role in the healing process, fostering hope and inner peace. Inner witness and intuitive guidance represent the principle of listening to an internal spiritual compass, often referred to as the Holy Spirit or divine intuition. This guidance enables nurses to provide personalized care that goes beyond standard clinical protocols. It involves a deep connection to their patients' spiritual needs, enabling them to offer comfort, insight, and interventions that are spiritually formed and individually tailored. Through their engagement with the prophetic online ministry, the nurses embody the principle of global connectivity and unified impact. The digital platform transforms individual isolation into a collective, global force for good. Their shared experiences and spiritual journey validate personal struggles, weaving them into a larger narrative of collective healing and societal transformation. This network fosters a sense of community and shared purpose, amplifying their individual efforts into a broader kingdom impact. All this came to a head when Maria landed in the hospital because of her hypertension. The rhythmic, sterile beep of the heart monitor was the only sound anchoring Anya and Fatima to reality in the dim expanse of the intensive care unit. The room smelled of antiseptic and exhaustion. On the narrow hospital bed lay Maria, the once indomitable matriarch of their nursing trio, the woman who had fiercely guarded patients and colleagues alike with the tenacity of a bodyguard. Now she looked impossibly fragile, her silver hair plastered to her forehead with sweat, her chest rising and falling in shallow, labored gasps. The digital display above her bed flashed a terrifying, persistent crimson, 220 over 135. This was a hypertensive crisis. The doctors had tried every intravenous medication in their arsenal, But Maria's blood pressure stubbornly refused to yield. Her body caught in a relentless, silent storm that threatened her heart and brain with every passing minute. Fatima sat on the edge of the hard plastic visitor's chair, her hands gripping her rosary beads so tightly her knuckles were white. Her lips moved in a silent, frantic rhythm, the ancient prayers of her faith spilling out into the cold room like a desperate plea to the heavens. Across from her, Anya knelt on the linoleum floor, her forehead resting against the cool metal rail of Maria's bed. Anya's eyes were squeezed shut, tears carving hot paths down her cheeks as she whispered her own fervent petitions into the stillness. "Please, Lord," Anya murmured, her voice cracking, barely audible over the hum of the medical machinery. "She has spent her whole life caring for others. She was our shield. Don't take her now. Please, not like this." Fatima reached out, her trembling hand finding Anya's shoulder. The touch was light, but it carried the weight of decades of shared night shifts, whispered confidences, and the profound bond of women who had walked through fire together. "He hears us, Anya," Fatima whispered, though her own voice wavered with terror. "We just have to keep asking. We cannot let her fight alone." As the hours dragged on, the night deepened into that profound, hollow darkness that only exists in hospitals between midnight and dawn. The nurses on duty, younger women whom Maria had trained with tough love and fierce loyalty, would slip in quietly, their faces drawn with worry, check the still blinking red numbers, adjust an IV line, and leave with heavy sighs. Every time the door opened, Anya and Fatima braced themselves for the worst, their hearts pounding in painful synchrony with the erratic lines on the monitor. By 3:00 a.m., the atmosphere in the room felt suffocatingly thick. Maria's breathing had grown more ragged, and the monitor's alarms chirped with increasing, agonizing frequency. A doctor stepped in, his expression grim, and murmured something to the charge nurse about preparing for the inevitable if the pressure didn't break soon. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Anya broke. A sob tore from her throat, raw and guttural, and she buried her face in the sterile white blanket covering Maria's legs. "I can't lose her, Fatima. I can't." Fatima slid out of her chair and knelt beside Anya on the hard floor. She wrapped her arms around her friend, pulling her close. "Then pray harder," Fatima commanded softly, her own tears finally spilling over. "Pray until there is no breath left in you. We storm the gates of heaven tonight." Together, huddled on the floor of room 412, they poured out their souls. They didn't pray for acceptance or peace. They prayed for a miracle. They reminded God of the lives Maria had saved, the hands she had held as patients took their last breaths, the fierce, unwavering love she had poured into the world. They prayed until their voices were hoarse, until the words blurred into a wordless groan of sheer, desperate faith. At 4:47 a.m., the 11th hour, the atmosphere in the room suddenly shifted. It wasn't a dramatic change, but rather a quiet, profound stillness that seemed to settle over the frantic energy of the machines. Anya lifted her head, her eyes swollen and red, and looked at the monitor. The crimson numbers flickered. 210 over 130. Fatima gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. They watched, barely daring to breathe, as the digital display updated again. 195 over 120, then 180 over 110. The frantic, irregular beeping of the heart monitor slowed, settling into a steady, rhythmic cadence. The harsh alarms that had punctuated the night fell silent. On the bed, Maria's chest heaved in a deep, shuddering sigh, and then her breathing evened out. The terrifying pallor of her skin began to recede, replaced by a faint, fragile flush of life. The door swung open, and the doctor hurried in, his eyes darting immediately to the monitor. He stopped in his tracks, staring at the numbers as they continued their steady descent. 160 over 100. I don't understand, the doctor whispered, shaking his head as he moved to check her vitals manually. The medication wasn't touching it? This shouldn't be happening. She should be Anya and Fatima looked at each other, a profound, luminous realization dawning between them. It wasn't the medication. It was the breakthrough they had begged for, the answer that had come when all human hope was exhausted. Fatima reached through the beadrails and gently took Maria's hand. To her shock, Maria's fingers twitched and then weakly squeezed back. Anya let out a laugh that was half sob, burying her face in her hands as relief washed over her in a tidal wave. Fatima closed her eyes, her tears flowing freely now, but they were tears of profound gratitude. In the quiet of that breaking dawn, as the first rays of sunlight pierced the hospital blinds, Anya and Fatima knew they were forever changed. Their secret weapon was praying from the inside out. They had stood at the edge of the abyss, armed with nothing but their pleas, and they had been heard. Their faith, once a quiet comfort, had been forged in the crucible of that terrifying night into something unbreakable, as strong and fierce as the woman sleeping peacefully before them. Finally, the work of Anya, Maria, and Fatima is underpinned by principles of integrity and accountability. St. Zoe Parish Church, the prophetic ministry they attend, emphasizes a foundation based on biblical grounding and ethical conduct. This ensures that their spiritual practices are rooted in established teachings and that their actions are accountable to a larger spiritual community. This commitment to integrity builds trust and credibility, which are essential to their role as spiritual and medical healers. These spiritual principles collectively guide Anya, Maria, and Fatima in their mission to heal from the inside out, demonstrating how deeply held beliefs can transform professional practice and contribute to global well-being. Their early condition of hypertension is now a thing of the past. These three women, Anya, Maria, and Fatima, shared the responsibility of being the moral compass in our society. The following are scriptures of protection that are used daily by these three women. Philippians 1:6, Romans 8:18, John 13:7. 1 Peter 5:7, Ephesians 2:19, Psalm 35. 1 Corinthians 13:8 and Proverbs 4:23. Proverbs, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Their motto is, your thoughts control your life. Thank you for listening. Give us a like and stay tuned for more episodes from The Healing Fountain.